look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. I don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now, it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to the live broadcast of Time for Hemp all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and of course, timeforhemp.com. As you know, we have made changes during our last 7 or 8 days here at the big network. We used to actually broadcast live, whereas if you heard this at 10 o'clock in the morning through the week, if you wanted to, you could have picked up the phone and called us and maybe gotten onto the show. But in the world of radio, we also play programming like they do in the world of TV at different times of the week. And so sometimes what you think you're listening to live is not. That's this case. We are now a pre-recorded network so that we can broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week into iHeartRadio and into the world to let them know on a continuous basis that prohibition is a failed policy and that to outlaw a plant is a sign of stupidity. With that said, it is Thursday, and on Thursdays we like to put a spotlight on some of the hardworking people around the world who are diligently changing the face of our political scene. And one of these people who's working also, I believe he's running for office, Wallace Dunham. Did I get your name right?
Yes. Well, this is Keenan Dunham. I'm running for President of the United States 2016.
President of the United States. I didn't want to make the announcement for you. I thought you wanted to make that announcement on your own. What made you decide to toss your hat into the ring to begin with?
Well, there are a few industries, hemp, solar, green energy, and the medical marijuana industry, which can be opened up. And I just see a lot of potential that as soon as we open those up, we'll have so much taxes, billions of dollars of taxes, and billions of dollars of revenue for the economy that'll be built up. And I think we need to do it as soon as possible.
And what was it that led you into this? I mean, did you wake up one morning and see something on TV? Did you have an epiphany? Are you from a hemp background? Were you part of an organization at one time? What got you into this thinking?
I've been in politics for a long time. Campaigned for Dennis Kucinich in 2004 as campus liaison of University of Chicago. And there I met Barack Obama while he was campaigning for senator and later became president. And really, when Barack Obama became president, I was expecting, a lot of people were expecting a lot of great things. And I was hesitant in 2012, and finally that he became a lame duck this term, I really wanted to run, and I'll be the youngest candidate ever. And I've come up with a plan of huge markets opening up for green energy and hemp, and also replanning NASA that I just think we can turn the economy around to a new plateau.
So meeting Barack Obama got you involved in the marijuana movement?
Really, the hemp marijuana industry is growing so much, and the potential after Washington and Colorado have made their experiment in legalizing, I'm so encouraged. And I also have friends who are in the markets, and also a friend who has cancer who needs medical marijuana, and I just have to do this. Also, the case of Hardy Macia, who was running for Congress in New Hampshire, who was trying to legalize medical marijuana but passed away because he could not get it passed and he could not get the adequate treatment that he wanted. Really inspires me to do this.
So that's how you became acquainted with medical marijuana and industrial hemp, is just through your latter years, through hearing about the industries?
Yes.
And what platform are you running with? What political party are you affiliated with?
I'm affiliated with the Libertarian Party.
That's a beautiful party. Gary Johnson runs with on that party too, doesn't he?
Right.
So are you and Gary going to have a primary runoff?
Yes, I really want the debate, and I think the more people are talking, even if we're debating each other, we'll bring publicity to the Libertarian Party, and I'm very excited about this primary coming up in 2016, and the campaigning and the activism, because we'll be doing activism for these points, and the more people we have involved, the better.
What direction do you see our country heading in as far as a police state?
Right. I think that really depends on who the president is, and that's why I'm running for president. We have to move away from the Patriot Act and Homeland Security and criminalization of marijuana and medical marijuana especially. I just see that hemp and marijuana as a market and as medical uses, the possibility is huge. We need to 100% legalize them so that we can get involved in the science and be able to do the significant research towards all the ailments that these can alleviate and cure.
And how would you implement this change?
I would introduce and continue the bills that are in place to decriminalize and also legalize recreational use, medical use, hemp industrial use for textiles, construction, and paper.
But would you do this with an executive order, or how would you get this done?
I'm going to campaign for the bills to be enacted, but some of those bills are already up to be voted in. But I'm going to do an all-fronts campaign. If I have to do that in 2017 when I'm president, then I will do that by executive order. But I'm going to campaign for the bills as well, which are gaining traction in both the media and in the House and in various states as well.
Well, and speaking of the House, and there's congressional hearings going on, off and on anyway, about the IRS and how they've handled audits and how they've handled the Tea Party and other individual nonprofit groups, how they've handled their emails or
Right.
didn't handle them. What would you be doing with the Federal Reserve and the IRS and the United States dollar?
That's a great question. I want to capture this hemp market when I legalize it and also make our IRS more just and make the United States more free for freedom. I want to change the IRS to eliminate completely personal income tax and enact a 9% sales tax, which would capture my legalization of hemp and marijuana to garner so much revenue through sales tax, which is a more fair way of gathering taxes anyway. It's also going to capture corporate taxes without them being able to be hidden in other countries or in the changes in numbers. Then I'm going to legalize marijuana first, legalize the hemp market 100% first, and have a 9% sales tax to gather all of that income. So that revenue I'm going to use for Social Security and also for my NASA program, which I have a special NASA program as well.
With the Russians being a little annoyed with us, the Americans might not have access to their own space
Right.
home there in outer space, and looks like we're moving more into a privatized industry with NASA. What are you thinking?
Well, my approach is to open up industries that will garner trillions of dollars of both tax revenue and national income. Then we can do the programs we want to do. We just need politicians who are excited about it. I'm very excited about the possibilities of NASA. I have myself planned a NASA program which will do things that NASA's never done before. And you need to look at my YouTube videos, searching Keenan Dunham, to see those. I have planned space colonization of the moon and Mars, where we're going to do greenhouses on the moon to establish a colony. The ideas that you need to accomplish these things are things that no one's proposed or thought about before. You have to go into space and use the resources which are there, which are solar energy and the mining that you can do in space. I'm going to do robotic asteroid mining for metal. And then I've planned out that you need to bring it to the moon because the moon does not have atmosphere entry that would destroy whatever you mine. So that's why we need a base on the moon. And there you're going to have a colony that uses greenhouses. And then we'll go to Mars with people to actually terraform using greenhouses. So if you look at my YouTube videos, you'll see I've methodically and meticulously planned out my NASA program and also terraforming to do both in space on Earth and on Earth.
Well, while you're reaching out into the world beyond us, there's
Yes.
a world that we're living within that's also got a whole lot of problems. Like we're messed up in Afghanistan. We got wars that we're involved in. I think Americans are currently involved in, 17 different countries? And
Yes, and I believe the main problem with that is dependency on oil. If you look at the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, we were going there because of oil, and we were trapped in those wars because of oil. And we need to go to green energy and solar, wind, tide energy, geothermal. We need to open up all those markets via incentives, not get the government just building them. We need to get incentives to bring businesses into those markets. And we need to go green energy because every time you build a solar panel somewhere, you're taking that off the coal and the natural gas grids, which will sustain itself forever. A solar panel is going to last as long as you repair the solar panel, whereas natural gas and coal run out. We need to go green because green sustains itself over thousands of years.
A lot of people say that it's more than just oil that keeps our uniformed men and women involved in overseas deployment. Many feel that it's also involved with the terrorist communities that are so actively out to destroy our country and our way of life.
Oh, that's definitely a good point. And you have to have a military because of terror organizations. And any crime that someone's going to do out of their own ideas has to be stopped. I agree with there being a military, but I'm not going to be cavalier. I'm not going to be imperialistic with it, which has happened in the past. I'm not going to unilaterally use the military for purposes that serve myself or our economy. I don't want to move. I don't want to have to move because of our economy with the military. I think that we need to make ourselves energy independent. We need to use oil where we have oil, but we need to get diversified and independent. And when you look at these companies like Shell and BP, where they go into politics and lobby just for their oil causes, it makes no sense because those companies can diversify themselves easily, very easily, in green energy and diversify, with lots of companies to use green energy to stabilize the energy markets away from oil, where oil's price changes and the economy and the politics all change. We need to get green energy to diversify.
Well, and then another thing that seems to be a hot news item that is going to be difficult for the president to reel in, no matter who is president, is the NSA. I can certainly tell you that I honestly believe that everything I do is listened to just because of the rowdy radio station that I have put together.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And I'm nobody. I mean, I'm just a citizen who's just moving through life. I don't have any reason to be followed. I don't even threaten a dog when I walk down the street, let alone another human being. But my emails are looked at, my phone calls are listened to, and that's a waste of tax dollars, if nothing else. And I certainly don't appreciate being spied on. Makes me sometimes want to stand in front of my webcam naked and flip off somebody who's watching me, just thinking maybe. So how are we going to get a little more secure and trust between the citizens who do the voting and the government who does the working?
Well, personally, people know me on the internet and on Twitter as someone who's involved with hackers and supports Occupy movement and Anonymous movement. And I would bring all those people into the fold in my campaign and in my White House and change the Patriot Act to nullify the Patriot Act and also close down and move all resources out of Homeland Security. Those I can do as president myself. I would just change everything back to what the Constitution is. The Constitution is the law, not the Patriot Act already. already the Patriot Act, and from its very start, was not legal because no one changed the Constitution. So as president, I will follow the Constitution, which is already the duty of the President of the United States. I want to do my commander-in-chief duty, which is to follow the Constitution to the letter. And I will change the rules of the NSA to keep them from spying on us. Basically, my ethos and my way of operating is that we should be serving the populace. And to be in office or to be a federal worker is service to the country and to the citizens. And if you align yourself by that belief, then it's easy to see that the NSA can't be doing things that hinder all the citizens. And a strange thing about it is that when people come into the country, illegal immigrants, they come into the country and live off the grid. Well, actually, the NSA is only harassing people who pay taxes because their names and all their information is on the record. You get a system where the NSA may only be harassing people who are on the books. And it's like we're supposed to get off the grid to not be bothered by the NSA. No, that's not right. Or not to be bothered by the IRS, which we've seen. No, that's not right. We need to make it fair and just. And that's what I would do as president.
Have you thought about who might be running with you as a vice presidential candidate? Is that still in the air, or has anybody been picked for that yet?
I've got a lot of campaign staff already, people who are interested in being my running mate, and I'm going to work on that up to the primary, and then we'll see the results of the primary, where if I win the primary, then I'll pick a running mate, or if I don't win the primary, then I'll be certainly willing to be absorbed into another campaign and work with other campaigns.
And what was it that made you one day say, I think I'll run for president?
Well, the absolutely quintessential point was that if we go green energy and we make our economy energy independent, then I can keep us out of wars. And I'm a peace candidate, and that's the most important thing for me, is to save lives and keep us out of debacles that we don't need to be involved in. If we get energy independent, we can save soldiers' lives from having to go to conflicts that are not needed.
Well, it is time, by looking at the big clock, to take a break to pay our bills, and then we're going to listen to a song about how fantastic marijuana is and being an activist is, how important that is, and then we're going to come back and pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
Take a letter to the president.
Letter to the president.
Yes, man. Legalize it. Decriminalize it. And I'm on Mr. Banton will advertise it. Sensimila. Me send a letter to the residents of the president with a stamp on the front saying very urgent. The message inside went something like legalize it. Sensimila. Sensimila is a herb that grows naturally, just like any other plant or tree. Natural as the birds, natural as the bees, and just like them, sensi ought to be free to be grown anywhere that we please, in the city, in the town, and in the country, in the hills and in the valley. Sensi should be there for everyone to see. Me send a letter to the residents of the president with
a stamp on the front saying very urgent. The message inside went something like, legalize it. Sensi meal to call sensi a drug is very absurd. It should be known as a natural herb. So much diseases sensi has cured. That's why doctors use it all around the world. For glaucoma and fever, rheumatism, arthritis and asthma, insomnia, emphysema, and to block epileptic seizure, to alleviate pain and nausea associated with the AIDS and cancer. Some say it is the best stress reliever. Lord knows I'm a believer. So give me the ganja cookie and the herbal tea. Sensimila is irate. I don't care what no government say. Sensimila is okay. Me ganja cookie and me herbal tea. Sensimila is irate. I don't care what no government say. Sensimila is okay. Legalize it. Yes, man. Legalize it now. Legalize it. Ha ha ha. Legalize it. Letter to the president. Legalize it. Letter to the president. We want legalization, decriminalization, and emancipation for all those sentenced to incarceration for participation with the healing of the nation. It's just another case of political insanity, abusing the rights of humanity. But we should all plant a seed of the sweet that we need to avoid an ecological calamity. We can use it for paper to save some trees, use it for fuel to save some seas, use it for medicine to help fight disease, and use it for food when we're hungry. So give me the ganja cookie and the herbal tea. Sensimila is irate. I don't care what no government say. Sensimila is okay. The ganja cookie and the herbal tea. Sensimila is irate. I don't care what no government say. Sensimila is okay. Me send a letter to the residents of the president with a stamp on the front saying very urgent. The message inside went something like, legalize it. Sensimila, legalize it. The way medication, legalize. Lord, the way meditation, legalize. Boy, throughout the nation, legalize it. Yes, we sensimila. Yes, from Downing Street to DC, time to paint the White House green. You know what I mean? Scene. Let
Yes, send a letter to the president and make it urgent. Tell the president that we need to end prohibition on this plant, not just for medicinal purposes, but there is about 1,000 different creature comforts you can make from this wonderful plant, from paper to fiber to fuel to plastics. And that is the reason why this plant is outlawed. And if sending a letter to the president doesn't make a change, maybe we should send a candidate to the White House as a new president instead, who has new ideas, new thoughts, and a new way of handling things, which I can certainly tell you straight up, Keenan, it's going to take a new way of handling things. Right. You know, there are people who sometimes think that no matter who wins the White House, about 20 minutes after you've won, 5 men in dark black suits surround you, escort you off to a little room someplace, and show you scenes of the Kennedy assassination that have never been shown to the public before. To give you an idea as to who's really in charge and what would happen if you try to do anything radical. I don't know. Because every time we've gotten this president on a Democrat or Republican ticket screaming, I'm going to make a difference, like Obama. We all thought Obama, my God, a partially black man, had student loans, even admitted to smoking marijuana, seemed like a hard-working guy, like one of us, lowly, little slippy people who work at McDonald's and warehouses and in factories, was going to get into the White House and make big changes. We also recognize that these drug laws, if you want to call them drug laws, these prohibition laws, are really the last of the Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws, for those you don't know, were laws that were designed by our government to keep black people and Hispanics and other minorities downtrodden. And that it would make sense for a black president with a black attorney general to go in there and remove these prohibition policies from our country immediately, just to give everybody. Instead, he's amped it up and he's become more of a puppet, and everybody who supported Obama is all in a gasp as to what a jackass he turned out to be. So do you think you could really make a change, or do you think you can just talk the game, but once you get in there to play it, it's other people behind the scenes who rule the board?
No, absolutely I want to change the game, and I'm going to change everything that's going on these days that isn't just or producing real economies, real industries that are held back right now. And hemp and marijuana are really a manifold industry with so many uses in industrial hemp, textiles, paper, construction material, medical uses that have not even been tapped to the surface of yet with scientific research, and actual drugs that are non-addictive, such as cannabidiol, and then the recreational use. That this market is a manifold industry, a number of industries that need to be opened up. Same with the green energy industries.
Now, what are your credentials to run for office? I know that when George Bush, I'm from Indiana, so we say Bush wrong, ran. Heck, he was governor. He'd been governor. He'd been involved in politics. Heck, he knew the business world because, he was a multi-billionaire. He knew how to operate big business and deal with big oil. So, therefore, he knew how to maybe operate with people overseas and have foreign policy. And Clinton had the overseas background and was governor for a while, of course. And even on your own ticket that you're running for, your last presidential candidate, Governor Gary Johnson had a political background, been a governor of a state, been involved in politics on not just a local but a national and international scene. So what kind of political savvy do you bring to the table when you throw your hat in the ring?
I've been involved in politics for the last 10 years. And I'm also a Mensa Genius IQ. I'm a member of the Mensa High IQ Society. I have a degree in experimental psychology, a bachelor's of science, and I have a lot of passion for this, and I just want to sacrifice for this country. I would do anything for the United States of America. I love my country dearly, and I see that there aren't many leaders putting forth these ideas and really campaigning for America passionately. And the last 8 years, no one's been creating jobs. And if I can open up the solar, green energy, and hemp industries, then I know that I'll create millions of jobs. There's no reason to wait on these at all as they create jobs. Each job created is changing someone's life forever. So it has to be done now, not in this state-by-state activist level, which it is very passionate. It's activists who are doing this, but I want to get to the federal and national level and do this myself immediately.
Well, I almost joined the Mensa Society. I tested Genius twice in my life. I didn't want to put the money out for it. I can tell people that being a genius doesn't really do much for me anyway, other than make me more aware of the grief and more aware of the sadness. I can certainly tell you being a genius myself has not given me any more answers or any more solutions than the next person. I've just been able to see the heartbreak and become more astute to the pain. So you got a high IQ. That's groovy. But we've gotten people in there with high IQs. I think Jimmy Carter was also a genius. I think, let's see, Theodore Roosevelt might have been. Now, look, what kind of jobs are you going to create? What kind of ways are you going to... Have you been through Detroit? It looks like a war zone. And 2/3 of Michigan alone. I rode through Michigan one time. And at first I thought it was just going to be a couple of streets that had, abandoned buildings and deserted houses that were crumbling. And then well, I thought, well, maybe it's just this small little community. And then I thought, well, maybe it's this small little town. And I thought, well, maybe it's these two small little towns. And it's just like it was on over and over again, city after city, town after town in that state. When you went through it, was a disaster zone. Hardly anybody lived there. Closed stores, closed factories, abandoned homes. They were even taking down the street lights so the cities could sell the copper from the street lights to pay off the city workers. I mean, how are you going to start solving problems like that?
I've got a package that I'll present to all governors and especially Detroit, where I'm going to create a package green energy program, which is a site for green energy building that's a combined solar, wind, and geothermal plant. And any federal land that's there can be leased out via a bid to an energy company or any startup company that wants to use green energy. And then based on the environment for that federal land, you'll either use solar, wind, geothermal, or a combination of those. And that will do for Detroit. Probably wind and solar would work there, probably not geothermal. The western states do geothermal better because they're on the fault lines, if you look at the geothermal maps. And I'm going to have that package streamlined for efficiency and low cost at the federal level for all states. And I'm encouraging already any governor to take up this initiative to build green energy. Basically, you want to build up a green energy plant that's going to produce power forever, so you get your cost of electricity for factories down, and that will bring even more jobs. You're going to have the construction of the green energy plant. Then you're going to have the managing of the green energy plant, which is more jobs. And then the energy itself, the cheap energy, will produce factories in those areas that will be industries that are going to be jobs forever as well. That's the plan to help Detroit or any state.
Well, okay,
Detroit,
so you're creating energy jobs, but not everybody's going to be working in energy. There's factory workers, there's teachers, there's food workers, there's crop workers, there are people who like to do babysitting, work at home. You're going to have to do more than just create green energy.
Every green energy plant is going to bring factories to that area because of the cheap energy. We want to build up a surplus of energy so we can build our factories without the overhead of electricity in the United States. Factory uses 1,000 to 5,000 times the energy of a home. So when you make it much cheaper and near free, your energy costs, then you're going to encourage the building of factories. And I'll build one of those facilities for Detroit and bring in immediately. I'll focus on Detroit and bring in a green energy facility there to encourage more industry there, and also make energy cheaper for the overhead of the businesses already in Detroit, which is the auto industry.
Well, it's also my understanding one of the many reasons why all these successful multi-trillion-dollar industries that were founded in America, like Kellogg's and Hershey's and all these groovy companies that make cars and motorcycles, moved out of America, is because of the imbalance in our tariffs and the imbalance in our taxes for doing business overseas.
Definitely, I'm going to simplify the tax code, and I'm going to eliminate personal income tax, which will help workers and the CEOs at the top. It'll help the rich and the poor to eliminate personal income tax. And I'm going to change it over to a sales tax, which gathers the revenues justly and fairly for all. And that will help in opening up industry and making it cheaper to operate in the United States. But also we need a great energy grid to encourage that industrial growth.
Okay, so you're running for office by saying you're going to take on the IRS, basically, and shut them down. And you're going to legalize marijuana, so there's no need for the DEA, so you're shutting down that office. And I'm thinking right there you've got a couple of opponents that you've got to learn to deal with straight up.
Well, no, I'm going to make them more just, and people in those federal worker positions will understand that I'm making it more just. When you eliminate the need for cops to go after marijuana, you are freeing up their resources which they've spent, so much huge percentage on marijuana. Then you are freeing them to get other crimes, violent crimes, or harder narcotics. So somebody in narcotics is going to understand that they don't have to go after weed and marijuana, which is less dangerous, then they're going to have those resources freed up for them. And I'll be working with those. I'm not closing down the IRS or the DEA. I'm just making them more fair and more just. The IRS will still be used for my sales tax and for corporate taxes. They won't have to look into the lives of every American, and those workers will feel like they're doing something good as gaining revenue off the new hemp market. They can campaign with me and understand my campaign just as much, or, support me silently and vote for me, because they're going to understand that their position will be just when they do a sales tax instead of personal income tax over everybody, and audits will be done for personal.
And speaking of resources, what are your resources? Do you have lobbyists around you now? Do you have big business lining your pockets to think their way if you get into office? I mean, who are you in bed with?
Oh, no, I'm not taking any corporate donations at all, only personal donations up to $2,500. And I've got it. Well, my website is Dunham2016.com, which is up and running with my issues, videos, and PayPal donations. But I'm only accepting personal donations up to $2,500. And I'm not going to accept any corporate money at all. I'm also going to give 1% of my donations to charity during my campaign.
Well, we're going to take a commercial break and take care of my resources. And then we'll come back. I thought it might be interesting to talk about what one of the biggest problems everybody has, and that is with we call the U.S. dollar.
Absolutely. Great.
On Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Yeah, stay alert with consciousness. Be aware, people. That's what we're talking about. Be responsible. Hello. Look, I say this almost every damn day. It's because I am so adamant about this. When you get a bottle of pills from the pharmacist, you look on the side of the bottle, and it will often say, do not drive, operate heavy equipment, talk to a teenager about money, or deal with the IRS while under the influence of these pills, until you have at least had a chance to see how they affect you. And you do that not so much to make sure you will be okay, though that is a primary factor, and so that while you are on your medication, you don't hurt other people. Well, you know, there's nobody here on the network, or that I know of, who smokes marijuana, who wants to see anybody medicate on their marijuana, and then as soon as you put your joint down or turn off your vaporizer, get up and go get on a bus and drive that bus across town with my loved ones in it, or fly an airplane across the United States or around the world with people I care about inside that plane. For God's sake, you don't drink and do that. You don't take sleeping pills and do that. Why in God's name would you smoke a joint and do that? Be responsible, people. That's all I'm saying. Well, with that said, that's my rant for the day. This is the Time for Hemp radio show. We are on the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. We were gone last week. All last week was encore presentations, and that's because we wanted to go from just broadcasting live 16 or 17 hours a day to broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop into iHeartRadio, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and, of course, on timeforhemp.com. I'm having a great joint discussion today with my guest, Keenan, Dunham. And Keenan, there are a lot of people keep saying, well, you know, one of the biggest problems America has is that stupid thing called the Federal Reserve. You know, I mean, people don't realize how nuts that is. First of all, it's owned by corporations, and the guy in charge, one guy can go in there and determine the value of the U.S. dollar, or just by changing how people borrow money. And you know, I think, unless I'm mistaken, the guy who was in charge of it a couple times back sat there in front of Congress and said, right when we were at the peak of our most destructive point in financial history, if you give me $18 trillion and no accountability for it, I will solve your problem. And they gave him the money, and he disappeared. So, and this Federal Reserve you all call as an important office, well, gosh, just got his fingers in everybody's pie around the world, and it's been around so long and it's such a monster, we haven't even been able to get an audit on its behavior. Yes. What are you going to do?
Well, along with the rest of my approach to governance, I'm going to open government, and the Federal Reserve, I'm going to close it as a private entity and bring it into the White House. I will control the interest rates myself, and I want to lower all the interest rates when I get into office. So, yes, I've thought about the Federal Reserve, and I do think it's corrupt, ridiculous, and illegal what they're doing right now, that it's private and they print money to give to their banker friends, and then loans are given to friends of bankers in billions of dollars. I think we need to bring all that into the White House and have audits all the time on what bankers and what the White House does with open government. Everything should be open.
Well, a lot of people have said that, you know, even though that Bush is president or Clinton's president, there's still only so much a president can do, especially with the way our laws and Congress is structured. And then it also sounds a little frightening. You are going to close this office and close that office and turn the tax rate around, and then you're going to bring the Federal Reserve to a halt, bring it into the White House, and you're going to take charge of our dollar, too. Goodness gracious, wouldn't you think a committee might be more apropos?
Well, I'm not going to change anything overnight, and I'm going to get lots of people involved and Congress involved. And I'm building coalitions. I want to work with Republicans and Democrats. I consider myself someone who's learned from Republican Party and the Democrat Party because I was Democrat myself up until 2012 when I became a libertarian, that we need to open up government and do everything honestly, and we need to have service as the organizing point of the government. So will I change things? Yes. Will I change things overnight? Not in all cases. For instance, the personal income tax, I don't want to disrupt the economy and destabilize our federal revenue. I'm going to change the personal income tax where I reduce it 25% each year to zero in my 4 years in office. So I will put the 9% sales tax up at the beginning, but the personal income tax, I'm going to reduce that 25% each year. So I'll be making changes, but I've analyzed these changes, and I'm not going to make everything overnight. There are some things that have to be done immediately, but some things I'm going to do over time to keep stability of the economy.
Birds of a feather flock together. Who do you fly with?
Libertarian Party.
Well, I understand that, but you said you're going to surround yourself with good people. You're going to appoint people to help you. Who's working with you in your campaign now? Who has endorsed you already?
I'm working with and campaigning for Adrian Wiley, governor for Florida, Libertarian Party. I'm campaigning for Steve French, and I've met with him in South Carolina. He's running for governor. And I support Robert Sarvis, who's running for senator and ran for governor in Virginia. And I've got a campaign staff of over 20 people all over the country and volunteers in a lot of states. And I already have some people who want to be my vice presidential nomination, and I'll have a lot more people involved by 2016. I'm also interested in working with Gary Johnson and Jesse Ventura. I just want to get people campaigning, doing their own campaigns, anything to bring these activist points to the public, get debates going, and get more people involved all the time.
Well, now that's the other aspect of this. Do you think that you'll be invited to the presidential debates? You know, oftentimes the Libertarian Party does get ignored. I think they've made it up to the presidential debates 3 times in the last 9 presidential elections.
Definitely, I want to debate Gary Johnson, and honestly, we need to have vigorous debate in the Libertarian Party to draw attention to ourselves. And it's going to take more than one candidate. It's going to take all the lower-level offices, too. We need to get into other offices. We need to get Libertarian senators and Libertarian congresspeople, which there are none right now. There's one independent in Congress, but they're not Libertarian. They're Libertarian-minded people. We need to turn them Libertarian, get other people in office, and work as hard as we can to get many people involved. And all our issues, we need to be working for them on a proposition level as well. So, yeah, it's changing, but we have to get more people involved.
I would think that is one of the biggest problems that any politician currently has. I know when I worked on hemp initiatives, you would think that even people who smoked marijuana would come out in droves to get all excited about the political aspect of being involved, and no. So it's frustrating apathy in this country.
Right.
A lot of people don't seem to realize that in the last, I think, 9 major elections, of the voting population that was able to vote,
yes,
of the 100% that was able to vote, only about 58% turned out. And of the 58% that turned out, probably about 38% voted for one candidate, 25% voted for another, 13% for another, and 18% voted for I don't know. So that means when you look down right at it, that means approximately 25, maybe 30% of the population is dictating how the other 70% is living.
Right.
You need to let people know how and why they need to quit being apathetic and get involved.
Absolutely. That's why I'm trying to put together an exciting campaign that will change a lot of things, open up these industries, the green energy industry, the hemp and marijuana industry, and get something people will be excited about. And it has to be a change that people want, to eliminate the personal income tax and to start a colonization program of NASA, which will get another generation of scientists wanting to go into space and go further than they've ever gone before. And and also with the hemp market and the marijuana market, it's discriminated against in the past. I have to encourage and wake up people who are in those communities and not in those communities that there should not be any discrimination against marijuana, because we scientifically understand it now and we can use it efficiently for the medical purposes and the industrial purposes, while also analyzing THC content and understanding what we're recreationally using as well.
Well, we are getting down to the last few minutes of the big broadcast. This gives you a chance to encourage people to find you and get involved and let them know why it is they need to let the world around them know about your campaign.
Yes, my website is dunham2016.com. And if you search Keenan Dunham on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, you'll find my Twitter page, my Facebook account, and my YouTube page, which all have information. The YouTube is especially interesting because it has videos about all the topics individually that I've talked about, and a couple of videos about the NASA projects I'm proposing. And all of these are part of my campaign. There's ways to get involved and ways to donate. But I love questions and I love debates, and I'd love to talk with lots of people about this. And we can all get involved at proposition level for all our local communities. It's just very exciting.
Well, it's been a lot of fun having you as a guest on the big broadcast.
Thank you very much.
We have also had in the past Gary Johnson on the show, probably will in the future. And Judge James Gray has a program on our network. And Have you been in touch with those two individuals to find out? Because you mentioned Jesse Ventura and Gary Johnson. You wanted to work with them. And both of them right now would be considered your opponents, because I'm sure they're also running for president.
Well, if they're going to put forth the same issues, then I don't consider them opponents. I consider them healthy debate. And I want to talk with and debate as many people as possible. I have no problem debating other libertarians, Democrats, or Republicans.
Well, if we can't get you up on the presidential stage this year, like sometimes they don't allow the libertarians on, I'm sure that here at the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network, we would be happy to arrange for debates.
That'd be great.
All right, well, groovy. Everybody listening in, let your friends know how important it is to get involved and vote. You know, if you say, well, it doesn't make any difference who I vote for, nothing changes. Well, that's not true. It very much does matter. That's why the political campaigns on both parties on the two major parties try to discourage you from getting out to vote. They want you to think that your vote doesn't matter. They want you to think that you can either vote for Twiddledee or Twiddledum and then be done with it. No matter what happened, they're all going to be puppets. Because as long as you think that, you're going to lay around the house and try to figure out if Niles and Frazier are going to get dates and if Gilligan's going to get off that island and not pay any mind to what's going on in your world, your government. So you need to take your blinders off and get up off that couch and put one foot in front of the other and get out and get involved on a local level. Seriously, if you don't feel like you want to get out and campaign for a national candidate, you need to at least get involved on your local level as far as mayor and city council is concerned, or who's running for your senate and your governor. But you really need everybody. I don't care who you are, an 88-year-old person rolling around in a wheelchair or a 16-year-old kid who just got your license. Let me tell you something. It's your world. You need to be part of it. This is your life. Show up and live it. Tomorrow, Small Town Fridays. Michael Crowlitz and I roll into a small town, put a spotlight on some of the hardworking people in their part of the world trying to raise the voice of the need to end prohibition. And on Mondays, we have Mary Lynn Mathery and Al Byrne, as always, doing Healthy Mondays. We are on a new format now, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can go to our website. You can go to any place, to iHeart, Tumblr, SoundCloud. There's apps out there that carry the network. And all you have to do is hit play just one time, and we play all day and all night. And this network is like a good joint. It's best when you share it with friends. And with that said, remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.